All right, when Amazon drops its next earnings report, there is one number that everyone is going to be watching. It's huge, and it tells us so much about the state of business today. So let's get right into it and figure out what's going on. Okay, get ready for this. $180.7 billion. That's what Wall Street thinks Amazon is going to pull in for just the first 3 months of 2026. I mean, just try to wrap your head around a number that big. It's kind of mind-boggling. So that's the real question, right? How on earth does one company make that much money in just 90 days? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down where that forecast comes from, what's pushing it, and just as importantly, what could stop it in its tracks. And just to give you some perspective on how big a jump this is, let's rewind. Just 3 years earlier, in Q1 2023, Amazon's revenue was $143.3 billion. So to hit this new target, that's a massive leap. We're talking about growing by nearly 10% every single year. For a company that's already a giant, that kind of growth is just incredible. You know, this didn't happen overnight. This kind of growth is built on an absolutely wild journey. I mean, think about it. From a garage in 1994 selling books online to a global powerhouse that's part of pretty much everything we do digitally. And that's exactly why these earnings reports are such a big deal. Okay, so how is Amazon planning to get to that $180.7 billion mark? Well, it really comes down to 4 key growth engines. And trust me, each one of these is a beast on its own. And this chart really tells the whole story. Yeah, e-commerce is still the king. It's expected to rake in over $100 billion all by itself. But look at the other pieces of the pie. You've got AWS, advertising, subscriptions. These aren't side hustles. They're massive businesses. And it's this mix, this diversification, that makes Amazon's money-making machine so incredibly powerful. First up, you've got e-commerce. This is the foundation, right? The OG. It's where it all started. They command nearly 40% of online retail in the US, and they're growing like crazy overseas. With faster delivery and more of us shopping online every day, this core engine is just firing on all cylinders. Okay, so if e-commerce is the heart of Amazon, then Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is definitely the brain. This is the cloud computing powerhouse that runs a huge chunk of the internet. We're talking everything from Netflix to government agencies. But here's the real kicker. AWS is an absolute profit machine. It's projected to bring in up to $35 billion this quarter, and a lot of that is pure profit. It's not just about sales, it's about making serious money. All right, then you have what I like to call the hidden gold mine, advertising. Seriously, by using all the data from its millions and millions of shoppers, Amazon has quietly built an advertising business that's worth over $15 billion a quarter. And just like AWS, it's super profitable. They're literally turning what you search for into cash, and they're going right up against giants like Google and Meta. And finally, we have the glue that holds this whole thing together, Prime. You've got over 200 million subscribers paying their fee, which creates this steady, predictable income. But it's so much more than that, right? It's the loyalty loop. Prime members buy more stuff, they watch more videos, and here's the magic, they feed the data right back into that advertising engine. It's this incredible flywheel that just keeps spinning faster and faster. But hang on, hitting that $180 billion number is not a sure thing, not by a long shot. There are some serious storm clouds on the horizon. So let's take a look at what could actually derail this whole forecast. Really, this whole story is a giant balancing act, a tug of war. On one side, you have all those powerful growth engines we just talked about. But pulling in the other direction are some major risks. A shaky global economy, regulators breathing down their neck, brutal competition, and the simple fact that it costs a fortune to run a business this big. And these aren't just vague worries either. We're talking about real-world stuff. Like, what if inflation makes people stop spending so much? What about regulators in both the US and Europe who are looking to clamp down on Amazon's power? And let's not forget, you've got giants like Walmart, Microsoft, and Google all wanting a piece of the action. The competition is fierce. Okay, so with all that in mind, the good and the bad, what should you be watching for when this report actually comes out? Let's make it easy with a simple checklist. First thing, don't just look at the big revenue number. Dig into the breakdown. How is AWS doing? Is it still growing fast enough to drive profits? Second, check the operating margin. This little number tells you how profitable the company actually is, which is way more important than just sales. Third, and this might be the most important one, look for their future guidance. And finally, listen to what the executives are saying about the economy. That'll tell you how confident they really are. So, what is future guidance? It's basically Amazon's own prediction for how they're going to do in the next quarter. And it's a huge deal. A lot of times, what a company thinks is going to happen can move the stock price even more than what actually happened. Why? Because it's a direct signal of how confident the people in charge are feeling. At the end of the day, though, this earnings report isn't just about Amazon or its stock price. Its performance tells us something much, much bigger. You know, there's a quote that just nails it perfectly. It says, Amazon isn't just a company, it's a barometer for how we live, work, and interact with the digital world. And it's so true. How they're doing financially is really a reflection of how the whole digital economy is doing. It tells us about our spending habits, the move to the cloud, everything. So when you see that Amazon report, you're not just seeing numbers. You're getting a sneak peek into where our world is heading. It's a real-time signal of the big trends that are shaping our future, from how we shop to how AI is becoming part of our daily lives. And that's why it matters to every single one of us. So that brings us to the final verdict, doesn't it? We've seen the incredible potential, but we've also seen the very real risks. So what's the bottom line here? It really all boils down to this fundamental conflict. On one hand, you have Amazon's insane scale, its different ways of making money, and its constant drive to innovate. That's all pushing it forward. But on the other hand, it's running straight into some major headwinds: a tough economy, regulators who mean business, and competitors who are not backing down. It's the classic story, a massive force of momentum running up against some incredibly powerful challenges. And so that leaves us with the ultimate question as we wait for these numbers to drop. Is Amazon going to blow past expectations yet again and keep redefining what's even possible for a company? Or is the sheer weight of its own success and all the problems that come with it finally about to become too much to handle? I guess we're all about to find out.